By any measure, today is a remarkable day. But my first comments are for those many, many people who have been fighting for this well before Dean Smith thought he should get involved. Well before. And let's be clear, the courage that was required to start this fight, to start this argument, to call for equality before the law was much harder to do in the past than it has been to do in the present. So my first thoughts are absolutely with all of those that have gone before us. As I mentioned in my contribution in the Senate a few moments ago, this is the Senate's day. This is a demonstration that working across the chamber, working with colleagues, does deliver not just good outcomes, but fantastic outcomes that deliver or meet the popular will of the community. The success of the yes vote, the success of what we've just seen in the Senate, does not erase some of the pain.
All right, I know you're probably straining to hear this. There are obvious audio problems in the field at that event, just down from us here in our Parliament House studios we're broadcasting from. They're down in the Senate courtyard. I believe our crew are working to rectify that fault.
But that will end and the joy will come forward and there will be cause for celebration. I don't know if I have much to say at the moment.
More to say.
I don't know. I don't know. But can I just say what a pleasure it is to have worked with all of my Senate colleagues. The trust that you have shown in me. I was an unlikely warrior, but can I thank you very, very much for your trust. Can I just publicly acknowledge how much easier our job was because of the professionalism, those wonderful, positive human stories from the Yes campaign. Yes. Determined, clear, didn't rise to the bait. They just kept on telling the positive stories. And that made our job as parliamentarians in the Senate much easier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very briefly, because I've got to run to QT. I'm a bit lost for words. That doesn't happen very often. I said in the chamber today, it's always a privilege to stand in the chamber, but there are days where you feel like you are part of changing the nation, sometimes for the better and sometimes not so. And I remember I was there when Work Choices went through.
I wasn't there.
He wasn't. Which obviously presaged the demise of the Howard government. I've been there on other big votes, but this is an important day, and it's a day of great celebration for so many people across this country. The only thing I want to do is to thank people. I want to thank Senator Smith for his courage and integrity and for being willing to do what he's done with us. I want to thank all of the co-sponsors of this legislation. I want to thank the campaign. I want to thank all of the Australian people who supported us, and I want to thank all those who've gone before. And I do want to thank the Australian Labor Party, who, as I said, has been on a journey, and you saw where that journey has led us to in the voting on this bill throughout this week. So thank you all.
There aren't many days in this job that fill you with sheer, unadulterated joy, but this is one of them. We've given the nation so much grief and despair over recent months, but today we've filled Australia with love. Love has made its way through the Senate. It's unstoppable now through the House. This is such a great occasion. It's a great moment. What we've seen today is the Parliament at its finest, working together with a common cause, and that common cause was equality and love. I won't say much more. There are a number of moments I'll remember through this campaign. One recently was walking into Senator Smith's office, signing my name onto this legislation underneath the portrait of the Queen.
That's always a source of joy.
It takes. I want to thank Dean. I want to thank Penny. I want to thank Janet. All the co-sponsors of this legislation. Sarah, who's worked so hard on this. My parliamentary colleagues. As I said when I was in the chamber, I am so proud of my team. I'm so proud of the Parliament, and I'm just so proud of Australia today. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Well, today is a huge victory. It's a huge victory for love. It's a huge victory for equality and fairness, and for the Yes campaign, and indeed all Australians that voted yes in support of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender and intersex Australians, our equality and our dignity. We want to say thank you to all of the senators that voted yes and supported our love and fairness. Particular thanks to Senator Dean Smith, a personal thank you to Dean for his leadership, his unwavering commitment, his attention to detail and that close and careful work that he did on that bill. And then to all of the other LGBTIQ senators who really led the debate here, to Penny, to Louise, to Janet. It was truly an historic moment, not only having this legislation pass, but having our representatives in the Parliament standing up for themselves and for everyone in our communities. So today is an historic day. We have the bill through the first chamber, not always referred to as the first chamber, we have it through the Senate, and it's time for the House of Representatives to do its job and consider this debate, consider this bill, have another respectful debate and pass this legislation before the end of the year. Thank you.
Just as the Australian people came together during the postal survey to deliver love, that landslide victory, today we saw that in the Australian Senate like never before. We from the campaign are just so grateful to the senators who stand with us here today, who fought hard throughout the amendment process, throughout the legislation process to get us to where we are now. The momentum that has been built up for so many years and throughout the postal survey has then come into the Senate and brought people together just as occurred during the postal survey. And now we hope that momentum, well, we are sure that momentum will continue on into the House of Reps. And by the end of next week, we can start the wedding planning. And Australians can come together like never before and celebrate with our Parliament doing something good and making history. And can I say, as one gay man to another, Dean, thank you for your immense leadership. This would not have been possible without you. This would not have been possible without someone from your side of politics taking the leadership that you have to get us to where we are today. So, thank you, Dean.
Thank you. You're here.
Thank you.
13 years ago, I was one of those people, together with my fellow LGBTI advocates, who sat and watched in horror and shock as the Senate passed amendment to the Marriage Act, explicitly entrenching marriage as the union of one man and one woman and banning the recognition of overseas same-sex marriages. It was an awful moment for us, but we never for a second believed that that decision reflected the will of the Australian people. And over subsequent years, over the subsequent decade, so many of us fought for so long and so hard to awaken the Australian people to the injustice that had been done in their name, to educate them about the importance of this reform, not just for LGBTI people, but for the nation. That's why it was so wonderful on November the 15th, when the nation said yes to marriage equality, and why it is so wonderful today that the Senate has said yes as well. It is the beginning of the process of wiping away that hurt, that shock and that disappointment, and vindicating the faith that so many tens of thousands of LGBTI people and our friends and our colleagues and our allies have had over the last 13 years in the good-heartedness, the generosity and the fair-mindedness of Australians. And like Anna and